It had been 2 years since my last encounter with Mr. Dickerson. During that time, I did grow a lot and became a very vibrant 11-year-old. I did what all kids did, playing with Legos, watching my cousin undress whenever she came over as I was very curious about the human body, spending a lot of time on the PS2, and experimenting on animals, later keeping their skulls as trophies in an ice cooler. I was slowly but surely gaining over my Mr. Dickerson aftertaste, but that special flavor was something that my bothersome taste buds will never let me expel from the confines of my brain. Was all well? Well, didn't matter. All I cared about was moving on. What did help me, however, was going to church. I would say that we were a pretty good church-going family. We went every Sunday, but after what happened inside those walls of that ice cream truck, I needed help. A sign, guidance, anything. Then came along Father Beaver. I will say that Father Beaver was a very pious and outgoing man. He did coach our youth soccer teams and was the architect behind our back-to-back championships. A lot of people loved him, He seemed to have all the answers and have your back. No matter what, Father Beaver was your guy. The much older people referred to him as like a man's man. But Father Beaver never really took much notice of me until recently. Same thing how in like church services, the pastor or priest would put their hands on you during anointing and all that stuff. But then finally, one Sunday, he laid his righteous hands on me, looked me straight in the eye, and then said that he knew my pain and that I was looking for spiritual and physical help. I really wanted to get rid of the memories of Mr. Dickerson, so my parents recommended that I see Father Beaver if I had any problems. So I started seeing him once a week. Slowly but surely, I started exposing all of my dirty laundry and questions to him. I was starting to feel more and more comfortable with him as he seemed to know everything about me, almost as if we went through the same thing. Whenever I talked to him, he would look at me with such softness and love in his eyes, as if I was his own child. You could tell he cared, so much that he would lay his big, firm hands on my shoulders, look me strongly in the eye, and say that whatever I was going through, he knew. Whatever I was looking for to get over my problems, he could help me spiritually. But he also stressed that the physical part was just as important, if not more. And I believed him, He was Father Beaver after all. A priest? How can I not trust him? So after many therapeutic sessions, Father Beaver came to the conclusion that I needed to experience what they called the Holy Trinity. This was something he had done numerous times, involving himself and 2 other youth goers. So I just said, what the heck? Father Beaver stated that with such excitement, so much that even I was filled with joy without having any idea what the Holy Trinity was. He got up and said that we must prepare for this as soon as possible. This was very important for you, my child, and I believed it to be very beneficial. I got up and then I left for the first time extremely optimistic, I hadn't been this happy since one of my school bullies was engulfed in a ball of fire through the Pentagon. Now, perhaps this was the thing that I finally needed to get over my terrible defiling experience. More than ever, I was enthusiastic about going to church, But several weeks had passed since my last session with Father Beaver, and he told me that I needed to be patient, that he was a perfectionist when it came to preparing his room for this Holy Trinity. All I could do was feel helpless and wait. Every day was like psychological torture. I was so ready to explode from being impatient that at last, the call came. It was a Friday night and we had our typical family dinner early, and I finished my homework. Father Beaver had a conversation with one of my parents over the phone, and they agreed for me to visit his house. So my mom dropped me off, and she appeared happy that I finally had someone to tell my troubles to. She told me that she was glad I finally found a friend and replacement for Mr. Dickerson, even though that was far from the truth. So I entered Father Beaver's house, and it was not what I expected from a very religious individual. As a kid, I always thought that pastors and people of such positions had nothing but Bibles and pictures of Jesus all over their house. Just like how I used to think that teachers literally lived at school. Father Beaver, he let me look around the house while he set up the final preparations. So I was looking through all of his photographs, and guess who I saw? Mr. Dickerson. It appeared that Mr. Dickerson and Father Beaver were quite avid golfers, but there was nothing to indicate that they were friends since they were the complete opposite, so I didn't make much of it. Afterwards, Father Beaver later invited me to his spare bedroom, and let me tell you, his room was lit like a chandelier. There were just candles everywhere, and I saw a rather large supply of oil and Vaseline. Now, I was just completely shocked and flabbergasted at how much light there was in this room until I saw someone come out of the bathroom, and it was Sarah, one of my classmates. It appeared to me that she too had problems that I was not aware of and wanted to be part of this holy trinity. She was barely a year older than me and did not socialize much with many of her school peers. She looked at me with such excitement and then asked me if I was looking forward to it. I'd never seen her so happy in her life. I told her that I couldn't wait because, I wanted to expel these demons. Father Beaver later told us to take off our shirts and not be nervous. He took off his also, and he was quite a fit person. So, with all of us bare from the top, we were now equal, and we shouldn't feel ashamed. Now, need I remind you that he was a priest and that we trusted him, of course. Sarah and I hopped onto the bed, and Father Beaver got his oil. We at first believed it was some kind of anointing oil for him to rub on our heads, but instead it was for our upper bodies. He told us not to worry and that the oil was to cleanse us. He then rubbed the oil nice and smoothly in counterclockwise circles. It tickled a little bit, and it felt rather nice if I do say so myself. After he was done with me, he moved on to Sarah. I had never seen Sarah with such joy in all the time that I knew her. She was even smiling, almost as if she had been dreaming about this man for years. After oiling us up, he stressed that this part was very important for our physical being. So Sarah and I both got 2 glasses of wine, which it was much stronger than what we usually drink during Sunday service, but it was whatever. Father Beaver later then slid in between us and had each of us go under his arm and asked us to rub his chest, as this was a very holy act. And as we proceeded to rub his chest, he said, right there, as we continued to rub, though it appeared that Sarah was enjoying it much more than I was. As we continued rubbing, I was starting to get tired and a little bit drowsy. Father Beaver reminded us that this was the spiritual aspect that was about to happen, and I was about to be unconscious while he performed the rest of the sacred holy act on me and Sarah's bodies. As I was about to go out, I felt Father Beaver turn me over and start rubbing my back vigorously. Finally, I thought it was going to be all over, and then there was just blackness everywhere. When I woke up, I was hoping that this holy trinity was successful. I peeked under my blanket and then later found out that I, Father Beaver, and Sarah, we were all naked. Father Beaver looked like he ran a marathon with the amount of sweat that was on him. I could barely move my legs. And Sarah, she briefly woke up only to lay back on his almost bare chest with a smirk on her face. Was this deja vu all over again? Only this time there's 2 other people? I mustered all the remaining strength I had and put on my clothes. Father Beaver and Sarah both woke up shortly afterwards and said that the Holy Trinity Act was a success. But to me, it didn't feel like it was one at all. Father Beaver proceeded to call our parents and agree to drop us home. During the ride, he made us swear not to tell anyone about the act, and that it is secret and had a special bond between the priest and their receiver. We agreed, and that was the end of that, mostly. For Sarah, it seemed as if nothing faced her, and she was actually happy about what happened. As for me, I was left to ponder once again why I blacked out, woke up sore, and cannot remember a damn thing. Quickly putting 2 and 2 together, I came to the conclusion that it was a rather unconventional threesome. Yeah, pretty nice. Nothing holy about that. Once again, a sexual act of mine results in disaster. A few days afterwards, I could not look at myself in the mirror and felt very sick. My parents would joke around saying that I needed to stop acting like a faggot so that little gray beans wouldn't probe me in the ass. As time went on, I could never look at Father Beaver the same again on Sundays, staying up there in his robe, acting as if he was the walking personification of purity. Thankfully, he did not last so long after that, as he died in a train accident. It was said that he was in a rush to Walmart to get more bottles of oil and Vaseline when he tried outrunning an oncoming train with his car. He died instantly, of course, and was torn into many pieces. I found the news to be rather joyous. Sarah, however, could never get over his death. Even at his funeral, she cried a storm of which people thought it was just a little girl missing her priest in such innocent ways. Stupid bitch. A few days later, she hung herself in her own bedroom. Nothing of value was lost. People, including her parents, kept coming to me and asking me what she was like, because I was only one of the few kids on the block to have any sort of social contact with her. I simply said that she had probably a crush on the pastor, and I acted like I knew nothing else. First it was the ice cream man, and now a pervert priest. I guess it's safe to say that I don't have the best luck when it comes to these kind of things. I wish I could take it all back and erase it, and just stick to jerking it to my cousin and farm animals.